And we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the Show Must Go Online. Today's guest is Kahyle Braxton. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Sho. How are you today?
Doing well, thanks. I feel like all things considered, right?
Exactly. What are you going to do, right? So,
Yeah. So I always like to kind of start these conversations being like, how have you been over the last few days? And I feel like I haven't done a video in this week or really since like the protest started. So this is like new territory and I want to be as respectful and safe space as possible. So however you feel like you want to talk and say how you're doing, this is a good space for that.
okay, great. Yeah. As you know, it's very interesting right now. Um, I normally don't have an issue with having to stay in the house. But I guess the idea that we're being suggested that we have to stay, like that's kind of getting to me. Like,
Yeah.
I have no problem. My home is my sanctuary. I like being here, but the lack of being able to really go out and have as much fun when you want to and where you want to is that's kind of the underlying foundation of this whole situation that we're in. And then of course with the illness itself, people have family members that are affected. And even folks that have not contracted the virus, you can't really visit people in the hospitals as freely as you would, or let's say you have an older grandmother, grandfather in a home or something like that. So, and that coupled with whatever political issues you may be dealing with as an individual right now, and then we have the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and these issues that keep recurring. That I guess reminds us that not everyone has equity in the States and globally.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to, like you said, observe and be, respectful of the times. But I think we also can't stop ourselves from doing those things that either bring us joy, provide us with information and things of that nature, enjoying the company of friends. So we're reaching out to everyone, making sure they're okay. But yeah, and we were going back and forth about when's the right time, and then, and like I said before, these things are recurring. So who's to say, when we schedule it down the line, something else won't be happening. So it's important to have our voices heard. And I'm loving that you're using your platform for all kinds of wonderful things. And I really do appreciate you having me here to talk about it.
Well, and I really appreciate you coming. It is so interesting, right? Like this idea of when to have this important conversation. And it's in my head, I was like, I feel like I should wait till next week, right? Like I am a white Jewish girl from New York, and I want to stand back and watch and listen and hear other voices, right? But then yesterday I saw a lot of other white people having Black people on their shows and trying to get educated and share and like use their platform. And then when you said today, and I was a little hesitant, I was like, this is the thing. Why am I trying to figure out when to do it when he is specifically telling me when he feels comfortable, right? Like even just that one idea of me thinking, well, I don't know if this is the right time, but you're specifically telling me it is like, now's the time for me to listen. So I feel like being open and honest with everyone is a big part of this series, and just that like mindset of like, why am I fighting something that someone else is specifically saying is okay? And that's just kind of like where my head was. And it's interesting today, I mean, we had that like flow of conscious, right, which I think is great, and sometimes good to just get all of your thoughts out there, which is part of like what the FLS Academy is, right? To get your thoughts out there.
Precisely, exactly. And I mean, honestly, I think it's a credit to you that you are aware and you're sensitive to the issues that other people may be feeling. There's nothing wrong with that. You're asking the question, and I think that's where it starts. Ask the question. Think about it, think it through, and getting input from other people never hurts. But yeah, you're listening, you're aware, and I appreciate that. I certainly do, and I'm sure your audience does as well. And yeah, that was all that Freestyle Love Supreme Academy is about, is just speak your truth. We want to hear your voice, want to make sure that you're heard. We want to lift you up.
Yeah, having the rap recess was so powerful this last time, right? For everyone who might be watching and doesn't know what we're talking about, we participated in the Freestyle Love Supreme Academy. Kyle was my awesome TA and slash the guide, and just like gave us these beats and these wise words. And it's this like, once again, open and honest space where it's diverse in so many different ways, and you can just be yourself and feel comfortable in that space. And that has now gone online for all of the academy graduates. And having that twice a week, as like during the pandemic, was powerful. And now this past week, it was just like it turned it up a notch. And that's been how have you been feeling with like the academy and having those rap recesses?
It's been very cathartic because we don't have. Let's bring it back, SHO, if you don't mind.
Please.
So rap recess started, well after I went through my initial courses with Freestyle Love Supreme Academy, and then they started to do the monthly, it just escaped me. Rap recess.
Yeah.
I don't know why my brain just totally blanked on me. So yeah, and just going to that on a monthly basis, it's like you can leave your, and this was at a physical place before the quarantine, happened. So we would all go to this particular place, and we would all get together, whoever was available, and just do these exercises and just, talk and speak our truth. And then when this all got locked down, we no longer had that. And I will look forward to that on a monthly basis, getting together, talking and seeing you all, talking with you and speaking and seeing you. And I'm glad that they started to do this in the virtual realm because we did lose connection. And while our community has been growing and has stayed in touch, getting together in a group has an additional to it, if I'm going to be
So
using
well
scientific
said.
terms.
Yeah.
So I missed that. And yeah, that last session was, it was heavy, but it was also, I think, needed. We wanted to get some things out, regardless of how you were feeling. Some of us wanted to kind of escape a little bit because we're inundated with all this stuff. Others wanted to just kind of and let it out. And anything and anywhere in between. And all of that was cool and accepted and wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the truth, right? That everyone comes with different things that they're feeling and coming with, and having that space to be able to freestyle, to listen, to beatbox, to, get things wrong and try again. I think that's right. I mean, that's what we're doing right now, right? We're getting things wrong, we're accepting our mistakes, and we're listening how we can do better.
Yes. And each go around, it gets better and better because we have more input. The wisdom is in the room. You're, whoever you are, you may not always be the smartest person there. And even if you are, the other points of view can only make your resolution higher. It gives you a sharper image. It gives you a better idea of what path you want to go. And I think everyone has lent their voices and been very vocal. And we love everyone that has come through those doors with the Academy.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I'm starting to see all the comments coming in. Thank you. If you guys have thoughts that you want to say, like I can see all the comments here on our screen so we can, talk about questions, comments. Andy saying, thank you for having these conversations. Thank you for joining us. James, yes, these conversations need to be had. Being an FLSA has changed my life to a certain extent. And I agree, right? Like I'm a theater reporter. I was an on-air journalist for 2 years, right? And yet this is tapping into this new vulnerability and this new way of looking at things and being vulnerable. And I'm trying to even think of the right words, because there's one part of being vulnerable, but also to be around other people being vulnerable in a diverse space, which is so important to have these different voices that are all accepting. That's probably the most important part to me.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I absolutely agree. That is kind of the crux of it. We can always, not always, we can generally feel comfortable in folks that are like us, in a group. But when you get into such a diverse group where, we're age ranges, gender, it's fluid, it's on the spectrum. How you relate to people from different backgrounds. We've had folks from, Hong Kong, Germany, all over the place. And when we are able to be vulnerable ourselves, it sort of gives others the okay, like, oh, okay, I can let this out too. And yeah, we want to hear that. We want to hear you, you know?
Yeah. Something that, especially the last two go arounds have really been bringing up to me is being a Jewish white woman, right? Like the idea of, if you are Jewish right now and you are not speaking up, like, you need to look in the mirror and speak up and wake up, because this happened to our ancestors. This is like part of our DNA. And if, this weekend there's an Israel Pride Parade, right, that I was going to be a part of. But if you're not going to use your platform to speak up for Black Lives Matter, then I don't care what else you have to say. Because if they didn't speak up for us and we're not speaking up for you, like, there's just no point.
Oh, I think you froze on me, SHO. Might be my internet. Connected. I might have lost connection here.
Let's just give it a second. Oh, I see my.
Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go.
Okay, cool. Sorry, everyone.
These things happen.
Right, technology. We are living and learning every day. But I was talking to my friend earlier. We went to the Holocaust Museum a few years ago in DC, and there's this display, or at least there was downstairs, that had, like, the papers in America. And it was so eerily similar to what's going on today with Black Lives Matter and with the refugee crisis and immigrants, and just the idea of opening our doors. And it was totally, like, it just hit me, right? Like, how similar it is.
Yeah. The persecution of the Jewish community has been going on. I mean, come on, pick up any book. I mean, and look, I've dealt with it in my community as well. It's incumbent upon us as part of that community. If we hear something that is off the wall, just plain, like, that's not the way to be. I can't tell you exactly what to think and how to speak, but I can speak up against something that is just so wrong. Yeah. Picking out any group of people, whether they're marginalized or not, is the wrong thing to do. And when I hear it in my community, I speak up on it. So, like you're in the Jewish community, the white community, and when you're using your voice. And that's really all, a lot of us are asking is, don't just turn a blind eye. If you're hanging out and someone says, something that is against a group of people, then it's your responsibility to speak up on that and check that person, especially if that's your friend, your family member. That's on you. You need to do that. That's how you start to be part of the solution.
Exactly. And I think for too long we were tiptoeing, right? Like, oh, well, I feel like what you said wasn't really cool, or, hey, like, that kind of hurt. But we are sometimes, and I think, I've been guilty of this. We've all been guilty that, you don't want to ruffle too many feathers at the time. And so you're, maybe you say something, but you don't follow up, or you're not strong enough. And Sarah saying, I don't have the answer, but I really want to have this conversation. It's so important. Like, I agree, right? Like, that's what this is all about. Is I'm by no means attempting to know any answer, but I know that having this conversation and having someone like Kyle, who I have this, like, personal relationship with, and also put out this, like, amazing video, I think is so. Yo, for real though, like, if y'all haven't seen that, I've posted it a few times, and we're gonna talk about it. Like, tell me what the inspiration for doing that was.
So it's a spoken word piece called Conversation, and it's essentially going through the idea of not just race relations, but anyone who is an other. But it does speak a lot about, police in the community, and how they are reacting to certain people, and essentially just coming together as different people and having that conversation and talking it out. Because part of this whole thing is America never really had a reckoning. It's always been, let's kind of sweep it under the rug and, pat that rug down and hope no one trips over the bump that's there. And, you might trip, but don't dare pick up that rug and peek under there because, you're afraid of what you're going to see. Look, it's an ugly history, but it did create this country. And I love this country, I don't agree with all the ways that people are treated, but, we're here. I think it's fantastic. And this had to be a catalyst to really get people talking, then so be it. People are talking. And that's a starting point. So I digressed a bit. So the strange thing about this is a re-release. I just put out an album called Here to Help the People earlier this year. That video was recorded back in 2018. And I believe that I originally wrote it back around 2016 and 2017. And in this whole time, it's still been relevant. There's always been something else that comes up to where like, oh, this is relevant. This is relevant. So putting this out now and having people check it out, I guess it's great that it's getting out there and it's, some people are noticing it and, sharing. But the fact that it was originally done 2 years ago and it's still just as relevant is a bit concerning.
It is right there. We keep saying their names, which is so important, and the list just keeps adding, right? Yeah. And today would have been Brianna's birthday, right? And we're not even talking nearly enough about all the women, right? What about the Black women, the Black trans women, trans men? There are so many, it's like there's the layers of just how awful and the systemic racism in this country and around the world. It's incredible to see all the protesters happening, throughout these other countries. Would you like to share the piece with us now?
Yeah, sure. I could do that. Okay. So this is called Conversation, just simply Conversation. We need a conversation. Maybe that's the wrong word, but I have to believe words can unite a nation designed for the enslavement of not just minorities, but the weak-minded, horizontal worldviews with steep hatred. And that's where they see greatness, by writing that defined dividing line, which might be fine to you depending on who had the line contrived. And I don't need life to be fair. I just need your open mind and eyes. See, we don't have a problem with police. If you remove his badge and put him in a judge's robe, he's the law. Or if he's a loan manager at your bank, you ain't getting that house or car. What we have is a lesson in perception, but with weapons. See, and I lost my place with weapons. See, how did I do that? This isn't blue versus black, some mutually exclusive either or, and therefore no need to even some perceived score. No, listen, if I'm cut down and you remain silent, and she's cut down and you're indifferent and blind, then your turn comes and you look to your sides, but all the voices are gone because you wouldn't stand alongside them. And that's a shame. See, when you were pointing that finger to blame, there were three pointed back at you, proving the same. This is truly insane. For generations, my people have marched, sang and protested against the same mess, and we're seeing the same deaths, displaying the same courage in the face of the same murders as if nobody heard them since Plessy versus Ferguson. And I'm truly fed up. And since it won't let up, I'll open a dialogue with anyone willing to try a talk so I can learn from your experience and you can learn from ours by and large. In a sense, nobody's innocent, but I'm eager to learn and decrease my own ignorance. So you can stand there with your arms crossed, a tight-lipped pawn in their game, or we can write our own rules, give each other a fair shake, open communication to hear just what they're saying. You're not seeing your real enemy plotting this checkmate and how your anger is misplaced. Now's the time. After we're galvanized, actions speak louder than hashtags can, and our lives matter.
Whew. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Just, I've watched that probably 5 times at this point, and yet hearing you say it live, right, also has that power. Especially, you lose your place, and it's like, that's life, right? Like, with this
Yeah,
video disconnected for a minute. So it's just like being in the moment. It almost feels more like live theater and being in these rooms together when that happens.
right. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And thank you so much. I really do appreciate the feedback. So awesome.
Well, thank you. What those words and the way that you rhyme them and you connect them, like, what kind of goes through your process when you're writing something like that?
Um, Something like this is usually stream of consciousness. So I just start writing, whether it's something that's bothering me or something that I really enjoy and I just kind of want to talk about. This one was definitely stream of consciousness. This was after an incident had happened. And yeah, I wrote it in about, I don't know, it took a couple of hours. Whereas normally I would start something, walk away, and come back. This took a couple of hours to just get it out. And I didn't actually plan on recording it as a spoken word piece. I just wanted to write and get this stuff out. And I liked how it came out, so I just made the recording. I was gonna see if I could turn it into like more of a musical kind of thing, but I said, you know what? Let's just do just vocals and keep it simple. And I just hit all the points. It's like you said with the Jewish community, it's like this is your time to speak up, right? So if we don't stand up for one another in different communities, then we can just be, tossed to the side. And I think it's, the Black community's responsibility to stand up for, Jewish rights and LGBTQ, anyone who is persecuted. And we've seen, after 9/11, Muslims were highly, persecuted in this country and around the world. And I'm like, that's not the way to be. It wasn't Muslim people. It was a subset of folks that had this idea in their head.
Yeah.
So, you can't point fingers and blame without accepting some of the blame yourself.
Yep.
So I think we all need to come together and, share these ideas, share these concepts with one another. I want to learn more about the Jewish community. I want to learn more about the LGBTQ community.
Right.
Whatever I'm not a part of. That's always been one of my, favorite things, to talk and to really understand where you're coming from. And I would hope that everyone else feels that way as well. But I'm not so sure that's how this world works exactly.
Well, I certainly feel like that. And especially with it being Pride Month, and you're seeing a lot of people saying, this isn't a normal Pride Month because, especially the first person to who started the revolution of and now my brain is like whatever, but was a Black trans woman at Stonewall, right? So you can't separate them because they're inherently together. The power of combining, it's not just Pride Month now, it is Black Lives Matter. And if you're just staying to one, you're missing out on so much of what's going on right now.
Right. And I agree. And part of the issue too may also be that there's so many things that you feel like you have to focus on. It's like, what do I pick? And it's all so bloody heavy, you know? And the sad part is we do have to, I guess, we have to look within ourselves and figure out what are the ones that we truly want to focus on as an individual. And that's a personal decision. It's impossible to focus on everything all at once. Right? And it's understandable, and you will drive yourself nuts if you do. But there are very obvious things that are going on right now that I think we're incumbent to talk about and get it out.
Yeah.
And if someone has information about some other issue, have that conversation. I want to learn more. Oh, well, how did this go down? Give me some history. Is there something I can read?
Right. Yep. And I'm thinking Marsha P. Johnson. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's her name from the
started the.
Yeah. So yeah, and there are so many things going on, but I feel like if we don't start here, there's nowhere to move forward, right? Like if we can't even say Black Lives Matter, like as you said in your, in conversation, right? Yes, of course, all lives matter. That's not the point. The point is that you're specifically calling out Black Lives Matter. And if we can't even agree on that, then there's no next step.
Right.
I in some of the past conversations, you know, with the inequality in casting people from the Black community, right? Like, how can we even focus on that if people aren't even accepting that Black Lives Matter? It starts right here.
Right. Because what you saw was, you know, folks created Black Lives Matter. And what came out after that was essentially a rebuttal. Blue lives matter. White lives matter. All lives matter.
Right.
All lives do matter. Absolutely. However, we have this specific issue going on right now, and it's pretty serious. So we do need to focus on this and make sure that these folks feel, you know, that they have equity in this society. And that's where, you know, you go to you fall down and break an arm, you go to the hospital, and the doctor's like, hey, you've been sneezing, you got some allergies? Let's look at those sinuses. You're like, all right, yeah, I mean, that's annoying, but I got this arm thing happening. That's fine. Sinuses are important too. But I'm in pain. Am I like, yeah, all lives matter. We get that. No one ever said only Black Lives Matter. If you hear Black Lives Matter and in your head, well, you're saying my life doesn't matter? No one said that. Something's going on in here that made you put that only in front of Black lives. No one's ever said that. And it's certainly not how the movement works.
Right. People start getting defensive when they feel like you're attacking them. And in some parts, I guess we are, because you are not acknowledging that Black Lives Matter, right? Like, if you just can't handle that simple truth, then it is an attack because you're attacking them. Right. Like, if you're taking this personally, if you're feeling like you're being accused, well, then you probably do have a problem. Whereas if someone's calling me out and saying I'm not doing enough, I will say, yes, you are right. Like, I'm trying, but I'm not I'm currently in this place in Washington State, which is great. And I have this amazing dog who's chilling right behind me right now. And it's amazing. But I'm also like at least like about an hour away from Seattle. And I've been really wanting to go to a protest. But I also understand like that might not be in the cards. So how else can I help? How else can I get educated and lift up other voices? Speak out.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw that you had done some research. I think you shared a nice list of some either media or books. I didn't get to look through the whole list, but that was fantastic. You went and did some serious legwork.
Well, and thank you. I wish I could take full credit for that. I did. I found the list from someone else and I shared it, but I've been going through it as much as possible. So I watched When They See Us, which have you seen that?
Yes. Yeah, that was a tough watch for me. Yeah. That was a tough one to watch.
Ava's doing so much good work with that and 13th. And it's like these stories that I'd known, right? Like I've heard them, but when you watch them and see how powerful they are and just how horrible a lot of white people in power are when they know that they don't necessarily have a case, and yet they're like, well, we want justice. Well, that's not justice if you've got the wrong people.
Exactly. How is that justice?
No.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And it wouldn't fly with someone who was white. It wouldn't go down. It's like they already have the guy. He said he confessed, and it's bananas.
It is.
It's absolutely bananas. And those guys' lives were pretty much taken. Terrible.
Yeah. And Abby's saying, please watch the documentary if you have not, the Central Park 5. So yeah, it's like I feel like I'm making my way through all of these. I just also finished Dear White People, which kind of tackles it in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a very good show on Netflix that I highly recommend. I watched probably all 3 seasons in like 3 days, which is maybe not healthy, but it's so well done, Yeah,
I'm glad they rolled it into a show, because I saw the movie when it came out and I loved it. But I love the way that they tackled it, because it was like it was humorous, but it was like, yes, it's certain things seem obvious, other things are very nuanced. So I really love what they were doing with that show.
Yeah, I guess I have to check out that movie too now.
Yeah, I think you would dig it. I have no doubt that you dig it. Give yourself some time. You've been binging through these things. Wait till next week or something. You'll get to it.
Yeah, and then last night I watched Just Mercy, which also it's just like
I don't think I've seen Just Mercy.
Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx,
already on board.
Right? And Captain Marvel, I'm forgetting her name. But it's free on Amazon right now. They released it, I guess, for the month as like a free watch on Amazon video. So yeah.
And it's just Mercy.
Just Mercy. I think
okay.
So. Yeah.
Right,
yeah. Yeah.
You.
Yeah, of course. It's Brie Larson. Thank you. Yeah. So that's good. I guess also like on that note, right? Like I'm watching so many of these important videos that are specifically calling out systemic racism, but then also like to lighten the mood a little bit, I've been watching like Supergirl, which I love, and also is great because it has like two main Black characters where being Black is like not part of like, it's like they are Black people. Okay, let's just talk to them like they are human and characters.
They just happen to be Black. It's not a plot point or anything. Just another character, right? And that's a big thing because for so long, a lot of Black roles were kind of caricatures. If you do get a role, it's like you have to be that guy who, whatever stereotypes you want to layer on that guy or girl. And that's all it was. And we didn't have a lot of screen time of just being a person. So I think that's very important.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like it's important to be watching these heavy documentaries and films and TV shows that help show a blind spot that a lot of us might have, but also just seeing that Jimmy Olsen is Black on a TV show is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
I also just might be a Superman nerd. So.
Oh, nice. Did you steal that from Jerry Seinfeld?
As if local comic book shop over here.
Okay, he's such a fan. I figured you might have just stole it from him. All right, fine.
Yeah.
What was important, like, because the representation, right?
Yeah.
Like when I had a bunch of favorite TV shows growing up as a kid, but I didn't see a lot that was like representing me and the folks that I kind of looked up to when I was younger.
Yeah.
And one of the shows that came out in the I think that was the late 80s, called A Different World. So I don't want to get into the producer who created the show. We'll just believe that's a different thing. But the crux of the show was, you're at a historically Black college, just brilliant kids just living the college life. And it was essentially mostly Black cast. I believe Marissa Tomei was in it in like the early seasons. But it was one of those things where it's like, oh, well, college is something I can aspire to go to. I don't have to be relegated to these societal roles, and to see that representation of, teenagers going into college and, mostly Black, you're like, they're smart. They have everyday issues. It's funny. It's smart. And I was like, I'm going to college. I'm still like, yeah, college. Yeah, I was all excited to go to college. And just seeing that show, A Different World, made a huge difference in my life. And a lot of folks that, that I grew up with, just seeing that representation was fantastic.
Right. Yes. Representation matters. I feel like we say it, but not necessarily enough people fully understand that it goes beyond just representation in a film, a play, or something that specifically tackles those issues, right? Like that, as we were just saying, it is so important to be having these plays where someone is a Black human playing a role. I don't know if you've been reading up. Sorry, my dog Slim is like right here and is like, why are you not hanging out with me?
I'm sorry. Is there any way we could see the dog for a sec?
Yes. Okay. Hold on. Stand by, everybody. Let's see. I have it. This laptop on my on a few books.
I hate to put you on the spot, but I gotta see. Hey. Oh man. All right.
He's
It's like, well, he's like what? No treat? Get out of here! Get out of here!
I know. I will give you one. I will give you one right after. Oh, hello, buddy. He's so cute. I love him so much.
Dogs are the best.
Yeah. Yes. I post a lot of photos of him now. Bless you. Okay. How's this? Now. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well,
what have we done? What have we done here?
it's like I move one thing and he's like, I am in control now. Yeah. Which he is, right? Like I love it. Honestly, just to take a moment to talk about like dogs and animals in general and quarantine, like having him here has been incredible, right? Like just having like an animal to to look after and like go on walks, and like if I want to sleep in, but like he's like, I gotta pee, and I'm like, you're right, I need to let you out, I need to walk you, right? Like it's a different sense of like accountability.
Yeah, it keeps you you have a regiment, you know what I mean? You have to do these things. You can't just kind of sit there and not, you know. And one day I will be getting another dog one day, but I'm not really there yet. So I have these two rabbits that I got upstairs. And if they wouldn't constantly wiggle out of their little leash harness, I'd consider taking them out. But they don't dig that too much. But same thing. You got to get up, spend time with them. Make sure they're fed. They got their hay. Their litter box is clean. So it's nice to have something like that to take care of, like you said, like the dog.
Yeah.
I'd like to go out and walk a bunny.
If you ever did that, I need to see a photo.
I'll work on it.
Yes. Yeah, I've worked on trying to see if I could angle this video camera so that like, if I like turned it like that or turned it like this, like, because he'll sit on the couch for a lot of it, but it just doesn't work. And he wants to just be taking up the space here anyway, which is great. I love him so much. Anyway, I feel like I could just talk about how much I love my dog Slim like all day, which is not necessarily what we're here to talk about.
They're almost too good for humans.
I think they are. They deserve so much better.
Yeah, indeed.
But we've been like sitting on the couch watching all of these shows together, right? So in a way, he's getting an education he didn't know he wanted, but he's been loving it.
And I don't see him complaining.
Right? He's just chilling here. He's not barking. He's a good boy.
Awesome.
Yes. Whew. Okay, so I'm gonna look at some of these comments. I think you guys are doing an awesome. Y'all, you know what? Quick note about that. We say you guys a lot, right? Like that's just become a term, but it's not super inclusive. So I've been trying to say like y'all, which as a reporter in Texas for 2 years, that was super easy to say y'all. So I'm bringing it back.
You bring it back, y'all. I try to say folks. That's been my thing for a couple of years. So yeah, and I'll catch myself too. You guys, and I'm like, try to be, just y'all, all you can do is try.
Yes,
I like y'all. I like y'all.
They both. I was at a rally in Austin, Texas a few years ago, where the banner said "y'all means all," and it was an LGBTQ rally, and it was amazing. And I got some really powerful photos there.
Oh, cool! I like to take a look at those sometime.
Yeah, I'll send them over to see like these communities with like in your brain, as like society has told you maybe are like separate things, right? Like seeing two men in cowboy hats holding each other's hands, holding up these signs, to me it was like, this is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm looking through some of these comments. If I look like I am a grandma squinting my eyes, it's because I have this little light here, and if I wear my glasses, it like reflects off, and I feel like that would be distracting. Just transparency. Gotcha. Yes. Oh, Ashley, I missed what you were saying earlier, but she said that she was a volunteer and an intern at the museum, I'm guessing the Holocaust Museum back, and a trained tour guide. All of this is important. I could, if you want to like continue some of that conversation here, I'd love to hear what that was like putting that together and learning. Like I was a tour guide at my university, go Terps.
Oh,
And I feel like being a tour guide can really also like influence the way people see things, right? Like what you choose to talk about and how you share your experiences.
yeah.
Just a thought.
And I mean, and you become a wealth of information, and it's a pretty important role because how you provide that information to the people that are there kind of gives them a certain vibe, you know. So you know, I'm sure who was that Ashley who was a tour guide.
Yeah, Ashley Stasak.
She must be brimming with all kinds of great information that would teach us all a lot of lessons.
Yes, yeah, we've been chatting a lot behind the scenes, and it's it's nice to have friends that you know are on the same wavelength as you, right? And who you feel like you can just have these open and honest conversations. She says, "One sec, okay, standing by." But yeah, it's just that like this has been happening in our country for so long, and it's just at that boiling tipping point, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like this is new information, as you said
Right.
with your video, like that wasn't even done right now.
Right. And I'm seeing a lot of companies and organizations really start to stand up. Recently, even the Academy, Freestyle Love Supreme Academy, and I believe even Freestyle Love Supreme put out a great statement in solidarity. And they've always been such a great organization. They've been very open when we've been, working out, not criteria.
But like the lesson plan.
Yeah, exactly. And they always want more voices and different voices. And how can we, make this more inclusive? How can we make it more diverse? So they stand by this, and I really respect that.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting because I've been thinking about like, I wonder if they're still going to release We Are Freestyle Love Supreme today, right? Like
Yeah,
today would have been the day. And I was thinking, I have a feeling they're going to postpone it just because so many of those voices are Black voices and so much is Black history that it felt like it would be a nice break from all of this, but it wouldn't be like celebrated or it would be taking up the space in a way that like wasn't how they like reflect. I don't know if I'm saying that the right way, but when I saw that they postponed it, I thought like that's really respectful and I like that.
yeah, yeah. And I think you said it. I think you said it just perfectly. And just kind of sitting back and giving this space that to be to be respectful of what's going on said a lot. It spoke very loudly to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, all those folks at Freestyle Love Supreme and Freestyle Love Supreme Academy are
Preem, preem, preem.
preem, 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 preem. This is microphone one.
This is microphone one. Oh man, I love them. I wish I could I saw that too many times on Broadway and off Broadway.
But I mean, you did your thing at your show. I remember when you walked in and you were like, I don't even know if I can do this, and you ripped it. I mean, you are incredible. We all love the show.
Oh, stop it, Kyle.
Oh, go on.
Oh my gosh.
I was looking so forward to seeing that documentary. I'm like, I'll see it next week when it comes out. I'm on it. I have to see it.
Yes, yes. Oh my God. Can we just talk about that? Our group was amazing. And Leonard's actually coming on this series on Tuesday at 6.
Oh,
so
cool.
y'all come back. But it was such a great group of people. And I was so terrified for our performance. And it somehow, it just like the words had this like flow through me, right? And I just like truly what they always talk about, the more you listen, the better you can respond instead of being in your head thinking about what you're going to say next, which I feel like is journalism and being a reporter in the first place.
Really? So more so taking it in, reacting to it, and being focused on the thing at hand instead of being in your head?
Right, because I mean, even like these things, right? Like you have to prepare, right? So if you just go in cold and you haven't done the work, you're going to be really stressed because you don't have anything to fall back on. Sometimes I'm still stressed, regardless. But having that background information that I know, like, well, I've done this before, right? I know how to speak with people, and I know Kyle's a cool person that's not gonna like, you know. And like, you know, I even have these like I like do little sticky notes just to like as my backup, just to make sure like if my brain stops and I'm like, I can't think of what to say.
Mm-hmm.
But if, you know, I always talk about in these like live chats or normal interviews, like on a red carpet, if I went in there with like 5 questions, right, and someone came back with this like new information and I was just like, cool, thanks, and I just like continued on, like it
Yeah.
would be so weird, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that
whenever presented with new information, you got to take that in. Like
you gotta take it in. I know. I just like to digress for a moment. Like I interviewed Alex Brightman, who's Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice,
oh, yes.
who's amazing, big fan, and we were at this SAY event, the Stuttering Association for the Young. Big fan of what they do there. And I just interviewed him like, hey, like, why'd you want to be here? Blah, blah, blah. Like Paul Rudd's bowling event, pretty cool. And he's like, well, actually, I grew up having a stutter and I still do. And it's like, what? Like, this is interesting new information. Let's talk about that. And
Mm-hmm.
that to me is just like the best example of like, if I just asked him the 5 questions that I had originally planned on, not knowing that information,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been like I'm a robot. And then we wouldn't have had this really fruitful information of how this, you know, Camp Say can really help these kids.
Right. Absolutely. Man, that's fantastic.
Just a fun fact. So okay, Ashley did write a little bit more, and I'm gonna put on my glasses. La 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 la. So a lot of the tours that I gave, ironically, were given to law enforcement and FBI and military. Interesting. It
Wow.
was important to me to relay the lessons of how and why the roles of law enforcement and the military and the law and legality of the Holocaust, and relaying the lessons of how this big thing happened was the direct contribution of regular people. So I focused on in my tours how so many things weren't new, and really understanding how we came to this point of the Holocaust and the lessons resonate today.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to snap that up.
Please.
Salute.
Wow.
Salute.
Ashley, I can't believe we haven't spoken about that. That is, isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
Don't you think? Ironic. Yeah, I really do think.
Wow.
I have that CD upstairs somewhere still.
It's like, oh, I love Alanis, but that is just crazy. It is just crazy that, you know, you're giving these conversations to the people who are in turn now doing this back to the people.
Yeah.
Where have we gone?
And you know something I found pretty okay. Have you ever seen the show Watchmen?
I have not, but I need to. Is it like the comics Watchmen?
It is. It is that, and it's closer to the graphic novel than the movie was.
Okay. Okay.
Well, it didn't follow the same storyline, but as far as the characters, I digress. Watch it. But okay, the bit that got me was, you know, I believe it opened up with the Tulsa, Oklahoma, where, you know, there was a thing called Black Wall Street, and it was destroyed. People were murdered. There was a lot of violence, bloodshed, and it was a really horrible event that happened. And I didn't realize how few people actually knew about it. And like, it was something that I was taught when I was a kid. You know, my dad and my mom, you know, made sure that I read history, not only the history that we're taught in school, but, you know, the history of, you know, Black folks and the history of people, you know, in different areas. So I'm like, and I'm just the amount of people that like, did that really happen? And I'm like, well, it was worse, but yeah, that happened. And I kept hearing like, wait, how many people don't know about what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Black Wall Street? And I really was appreciative of Watchmen doing that, because it opened up again the conversation. And people are like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. And I saw people like, well, go back and read, essays and books on exactly what happened. And then it kind of sent them down a rabbit hole of learning a lot of the atrocities that have gone on. And, a lot of these things have far-reaching effects.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of like redlining. So redlining is the idea that Black folks could not buy houses in certain areas because they were largely white.
Yeah.
And I know when my dad got his his money from his GI Bill basically to buy a house, we were going to move to, I wasn't alive yet. They were going to move to a small suburb called Hillside, Hillside, New Jersey. And there was a section that they would show you, which is close to the Newark, New Jersey line, than it was to the Union, New Jersey, which is the suburbs. And they're like, we're not going to even show you houses down there. You can see the houses up here. So he was actively kept out of buying a house in a particular area, even though he could easily afford it. And from that, we went to specific schools. So for all intents and purposes, because of redlining and these folks could only buy houses in a certain area, there were no buses. So you had to go to that particular school. So for all intents and purposes, well into the 80s, the schools that I went to were segregated based on where you lived. And because you were Black and couldn't buy a house on that side of the town, you weren't going to that, your kids weren't going to that school.
Oh my goodness.
They eventually started busing in the mid to late 80s. And then, I got all these, like, I've never met you before. We're in the same grade. How come I've never met you? And it occurred to me later on in life, in college, was like, holy crap. That was essentially segregated in the 80s. And it's bananas.
Wow.
And all these things have far-reaching effects. When you have systemic racism, things like redlining, things like bank loans, things like being able to go to the college of your choice, getting the job that you're qualified for. All these things have long-lasting effects, generation after generation after generation.
Right.
And we've been speaking out against that very thing for generations. And yes, we make progress. But at a certain point, you stop asking and you start yelling.
Right.
So, I take what my parents taught me and I pass that along to, younger folks, my nephews, my god kids, and let them know, like, America is not a horrible country, but it does have a very ugly history that I think we should all really, truly understand. And only once we have that reckoning will we really begin to heal as a nation. And will that come in my lifetime? I don't know. I have high hopes, but we'll see. I'm hoping people really start to listen and have these active conversations openly, like you're doing.
Well, it's so interesting with all these protests going on, because I feel like at least I've heard that through the different generations, like, this is different, right? Like, this is a different type of it's too much. There's been too much boiling up to this point, and no longer can we just stay silent. And there are like this, I don't even know how you would say this, but like, for all the people who are Glee fans or Spring Awakening fans, and how everyone's talking about Lea Michele, right? Like, and some people are like, well, there are larger issues to talk about. We shouldn't just be spilling the tea, but also like pointing out the systemic racism in like the theater and on TV is important to moving forward, right? Like, reading Gabrielle Union's piece about like why she left, and like that whole article that I just read yesterday, like, that we need to be having those conversations, because, we'll never be truly free until those in bondage have the same rights as you and me. There are so many lines from Hamilton that directly relate to right now. Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And like your earlier point, it does feel different to me. It's what happens is you get to a tipping point when enough people really care. And I think that may be what we're seeing, where people have had enough. I mean, the Black community, we've had enough for a long damn time. And now that people are really kind of what I hope is sincerely, standing alongside us is very powerful.
Yeah.
And we need to continue doing that, and we need to continue building community where, yes, we are the Black community, but we don't exist in a vacuum. My family has open arms. You know what I mean? My mom was raised in a little town called Brundage, Alabama, and she saw some real atrocities there. Not going to get into that right now, but these are all these things that my dad taught me when he was going through the civil rights movement, and what my mom was dealing with down there, and working your way up professionally was extremely difficult in the 60s and 70s. And I haven't experienced the same level of racism and discrimination that they have, but I've certainly had my issues in my time, both in the professional world and just on a daily basis, walking around, the streets or driving around or whatever. So it's just really important that we understand that no community of no group of people exists in a vacuum. We're kind of all in this together.
Exactly. Very well said. And Ashley saying, I'm just sorry that I didn't speak out earlier, that I failed in the responsibility, but it's now time to do the work. Right. And that's like, we all kind of have been failing. No matter how much we've been doing, it hasn't been enough. And the first step is recognizing that. And the second step is taking action.
I would agree. And Ashley, thank you for being a part of the solution. Fantastic.
And I wanted to, since we only have a few minutes left, it feels like this conversation flew by.
Yeah, really? Holy crap. Yeah.
Right. I know. I've been like keeping a little eye on the time, and it's like, oh wow, very great.
You're so much fun to talk to.
Awesome. The feelings are so mutual.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's my gauntlet. Amazing. Yeah, I always have these gauntlets. Wow,
that's pretty cool.
Chalices. Yeah, big fan of that. Helps the conversation flow. It
has weight to it. You hold it.
We are a great team. Thank you so much for noticing, Jennifer. No, you too.
You're the best.
Yes, I feel very lucky that we were in the same group together Saturdays at 1.
Yeah, same here. Same here. You, the entire class was a pleasure. You always came in with a smile on your face, and it wasn't always the best day, but by the time you left, you were beaming, and you were just a pleasure to have in the class.
Should have you over more often.
And you just got better and better. You end up coming out with these bars like, yeah, SHO is not playing. Not a game.
Oh my goodness. It was so much fun. Oh my goodness. There are so many moments that were just like feeling so like lifted up, right? Like I highly recommend if anyone has been like contemplating, like, should I do the academy or should I not? Like, do you feel like you have what it takes? Like you do, like just by thinking about if you should do it or not means that you should do it.
Right. And I think I saw someone earlier in the comments, it might have been Jamie, was saying that it sort of changed his life. Yeah, when I joined, I'm like, it really did make a positive change in my life. Like it gave me a creative outlet that I didn't have. Corporate guy. So it's like, I have this creative side and I have the corporate stuff that I'm pretty good at and tech stuff. And it's like, yeah, I love my job, but I'm missing something in the whole creative part. I had an album's worth of material just kind of sitting, like, it gave me the real kick in the pants that I needed. Like, oh snap, I can release this every week. I would come home and I would work on stuff. And I got people that were in the classes with me to they featured on the album. They lent their talents and voices. I'm like,
yes.
Ashley, Lou, D'Artagnan, Lou.
Amazing. So where did Getting come from? Where's the name from?
Oh, Geddon. So my name used to be Armageddon back in the 1900s. And around that time, there was a group called Terror Squad. This was with Fat Joe, Big Pun, Tony Sunshine, and there was a guy named Armageddon. So back at that time, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a rapper, while going to college. So I'm like, whatever. Didn't work out. I'm like, you know what? I can't keep that name. So I was trying all kinds of different names. Like, I kind of want to keep Armageddon. So I just kind of chopped it in half and changed the spelling to Gedun. So it's half of Armageddon. So if anyone out there has a problem pronouncing it, just chop Armageddon in half. And however you say that half of Armageddon, that's how it's pronounced.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah. So I always like to wrap up these conversations asking where people can find you, if there's anything they should look out for, and if there are any nonprofits or charities that you specifically want to give a shout out.
You can find me on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, the Twitter verse, at Gedun Projects. That's GEDUN Projects, PROGECTS. Did I spell that correctly? I don't know. I don't know.
J?
So Gedun J.
Whatever.
Exactly. Gedun Projects. And the website is gedunprojects.com. I'm anywhere you stream music. Spotify, Apple Music, Google, YouTube, Tidal, Napster, which I didn't know was still operating, but yeah, so that's where you can find me. So just search for Gedun Projects, and you'll find me. And I'm hoping that you enjoy the album that was put out earlier this year. I have another video coming out probably in about a month called This Just In, which will tackle some other issues such as being in a police state and the school to prison pipeline, military industrial complex. So give me about a month and that'll be out, and I hope you'll all dig that.
Wow, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm sure that'll be incredible.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to putting that one out. It'll be fun and might ruffle a few feathers.
Isn't that what we need right now?
Indeed.
And I've been seeing the Okra Project, which specifically helps Black trans folk right now. So that's one that there have been a lot of really good nonprofits that you can look up, and we've been sharing the links. I know Kayla, Milady, and Martin, who were just on the series 2 weeks ago.
That was a great interview. I saw that. Yeah, Kayla's so awesome. They're working with folks with kids that stutter as well as a therapy through the beatbox, and I'm like,
they're amazing. Yeah, we've been talking about that. And they're doing this thing that if you donate X amount and you send the receipts, they will give you a free beatbox lesson. So if you've been looking for a way to kind of get into this, you can both donate to these good causes and get a beatbox lesson. I know we're gonna go at it again, and let's see how well I do, because beatboxing.
Okay. Well, even being able to do that's a win. And I think you got this, SHO. You got it.
Thank you so much.
I think I'll do the same thing because I'm kind of lacking in my beatbox skills. I gotta practice up.
I think you're pretty good, but we could all use a little training for everything, right? At the end of the day,
never stop learning. Yeah,
exactly. And just a quick shout out to my Showtreons. I have a bwaySHO Patreon. Ashley's one of the members, and it's just, y'all have really been supporting me as a solo artist trying to create it in this world. I appreciate y'all so much. So if that's something that you're interested in, patreon.com/bwaySHO. That's BWAYSHO. And thank you. But there are also much bigger things going on right now. And I know we also don't have money right now. So you're cool. I love y'all the same. And this will always be free content. Just the Patreons get a little preview, and we have these live chats, which are really great also. Just that little plug, and then pulling back. But I'm going to continue the series. I'm trying to see, I want next week, if possible, to be exclusively Black voices and help raise them up. So stay tuned for that. LJ or Leonard Moore will be coming on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So stay tuned for that. We went through the academy together. He is brilliant. He's so much fun. He's so nice. Like y'all,
he's good. He's good people. He is good people. He's funny, brilliant. I love his acting, and just an all-around swell guy. Like LJ's he's that dude.
Yes, he is. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for opening your heart and your stories with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, SHO. And you're doing a fantastic job here, and I'm loving your channel.
Thank y'all. See you at the show.
Later.
Bye, y'all.